Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first ever podcast organized by the Student Council of Ittihad School. My name is Ahmed Abdelaziz, and I'll be your host today as we dive down into this week's theme, which is all about innovation. We have a special guest in with us today, and we'll discuss everything there is to know about innovation. So, Mr. Declan, how are you today?
Hi, Ahmed. Can I just say, guys, thank you for having me on your first show. It's a privilege to be here, and I'm really looking forward to answering your questions.
All right, that sounds great. Mr. Declan is a creative design and innovation teacher in Al-Ittihad School. Would it be all right if you introduce yourselves to the listeners today?
Yeah, okay. So I have been teaching creative design and innovation in Al-Ittihad School. This is my fourth year teaching the subject. On my first year on arrival, it was a new subject at the time, so we did not really have that much or that many resources available to us. But as the years have gone by, we have a range of 3D printers. We've a Fusion 360 software that you're all able to use. So it's actually really advanced in the last couple of years, which is great to see. So you guys, I've been teaching you for the 2 years. So this is my second year teaching you, and this is Innovation Week. So this is really kind of a week to kind of highlight how nice of a subject this is, and I'm privileged to be able to teach it to you guys.
Yeah, I totally agree. So let's quickly dive into the questions. With our first question, how would you define innovation?
So in my own opinion, a lot of people get mixed up between creative and, let's say, creativity and innovation. Okay, so a lot of people kind of say they're kind of similar, but they're not. So creativity is kind of like where you take an idea and you create it for yourself. Okay, so you create something, whether you sketch it or you make it, but you have created something. Okay, it doesn't have to be spectacular to look at. As long as it's your own design, you create something. Okay. Innovation, on the other hand, is where you take an idea and you make it better, or in terms of like you make it more efficient, where it's you just like turn an idea into something more useful. Okay. So an example of that would be, let's say, for example, Steve Jobs, who was the founder of Apple, and he invented the iPhone. Okay, so when the iPhone first came out, it was a creative design. We could do some new features. I think it was only a couple of years before that where cameras had, those cameras on phones. So the innovation has really transformed that phone into what it is today. Okay, so with the evolution of using applications, so it's really kind of evolved through innovation. So you can see how it's taken that creative idea and then turned it into something new and something more effective. Is that a good enough answer for you?
Yeah, I guess that pretty much sums it up. I couldn't have said it in any better way.
Yeah.
Well, my second question would be, how do I spot opportunities for innovation? So if the viewers were or the listeners were to ask this question, how would you answer it?
So like there's a good show on, it was on the BBC, called Dragon's Den. There's a lot of videos available on YouTube. I don't know if you've ever seen it, and this is just a perfect show that kind of where a person has an idea. Now this idea could be anything from a can opener to a comfortable shoe, any design you want. It could be an application. So they really kind of showcase their idea. So they create something and they obviously try to make it work. Okay, so when you go to create something, it's usually a problem that you face in everyday life. So like if you think your daily routine, you get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you have your breakfast, you go to school, you work, you come home, that's your typical daily routine. But if you can think of any problems that you kind of face on a daily basis and how you could improve some part of your day, okay, that's where the innovative idea comes in, where hang on a minute, I could do this differently and this would save me more time maybe. Okay, so when you, let's say for example, you were to you created an object or you created an idea, whether it's an application to solve something, what you could do or what you kind of have to factor in is that would other people use this idea? Okay, so if you have an idea and you're unsure of how to design an application or something, okay, so you speak to someone who can make this application for you the way you want it. But you need to kind of look at the market and, okay, is there a demand for this idea that you want to design? Okay, are people going to use it? Are people going to download this application? So you kind of have to follow the trend in the market of like whether people are going to use it or not. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you can't just come up with an idea, but in order for it to be successful, you need other people to use it. Okay, so you have to kind of almost sell it to other people. So on that show, I think where it's Dragon's Den, the show I'm talking about, like one guy came up with this brilliant idea. He cycles to work, and sometimes when he cycles to work, the chain would come off his bicycle. Okay, I don't know if you've ever taken a chain off a bicycle. It's all kind of greasy, and when you go to put it on, your hands are all greasy. And if you're going to work, you have grease on your hand, and it's very difficult to get off. So this guy just came up with this. It was like a really small device that kind of fits in your hand that can just clips onto the chain, and it can just put it back on the sprocket. So without putting your hand on this little device, you could just carry it onto your bike, and it just clips the chain back on. Okay, this like such a simple design. It was very basic. I think any of you would be able to draw it up on Fusion. But he went on, he showed this idea, and they all absolutely loved it. There was people trying to invest on it. And this just simple, unique design, obviously he's being creative about it, but it was a problem that he faced every day. And he just kind of said, okay, I have a brainwave. I could do something about this, okay? And it was just his little invention, and he took that further, and now that's his business, okay? But then after you make one product, when you make one product, you kind of have to, like if you have a company and you have a logo, your one product is not going to be successful forever, okay? This is where you have to be innovative, and then you can either look for ways of improving the product, okay? Because if you don't improve your product after, let's say, a couple of years, other companies will come in and they will copy your product and make it better. So that's why you have a competitive market. So when you have an idea, you need to make sure that your idea is perfect and no one else can make it better, okay? So it's such a competitive market nowadays that when you put something up online, your idea, you go to sell something, other big companies, let's say IKEA or other big companies, Homebase, would just see your idea and they'd make it better, okay? They have probably a design team. So you need to make sure that when you have your idea that you're fully happy with it and that you've created the best as you can, okay? So would that be an example? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that hit the nail right on the question. I think we'll have to tune into that show and watch more about how they discuss innovation.
Honestly, guys, brilliant show. There's there's an English version and an Australian version. The English version is very good. Some of the ideas are some of them are a bit far-fetched, ridiculous, but then other ones are really good. But
I'm sorry. I think that's all what about innovation is about, since everything is so futuristic, and so it has to be far-fetched and stuff like that. To continue on that question, now you discussed strategy, I believe, where you said that we have to plan some things. How important do you think strategy is?
Well, like even if you take it away from innovation, if you're talking about strategy, like everyone has a strategy in life, okay? So like even if it's your daily routine, okay, this is your strategy about how you go about planning something. So if you were to plan your day out tomorrow, okay, you would set your alarm, you would get up for school, you would teach your lessons, you'd kind of plan what I want to eat. That's just a strategy that you're going to follow, okay? And you're going to do the best strategy possible that suits you, okay? And that that strategy is going to work. You're not going to put any complicated task in your day that that's going to interfere with schoolwork, okay? You're not going to watch TV during school. You're going to plan it where you can watch TV in the evening or something like that. But if you look back, so Ahmed, we have always covered the design process for creative design innovation subject. So if you follow a design process and compare this to your strategy, do you know what the first stage of the design process is, or can you list some of the steps? Can you remember them?
Well, if I were to recall from my memory, I would believe was it brainstorming where we had to think of things before we
Yeah, so
begin
that'd
something?
be kind of done at the start. Yeah. So
Yeah,
like what you had was, remember, you have a design brief, okay, and then you analyze the brief. Okay, so if you're to talk about strategy and your business idea, the first thing you do is you obviously sit down, will this idea work? Okay, then on the next stage would be do some research and investigation. Okay, so this is all part of your strategy, your research and investigation. You can use Google, you can go to different companies, you can see what other products are available or similar to it. And then after you're happy with that, then you can start designing it. Okay, so think about the design process, all the different ways you can design something nowadays. You can use your Fusion 360 like we do in the lab. You can make a model of it. You can begin by sketching it. So there's so many different ways now to go about designing something. And this doesn't have to be like with a small product. Like if you're thinking like a bigger project, like a building or something, there's others different softwares you can design the whole building from start to finish before you even lay any brick or even any piece of concrete on the ground. Okay, so you can design all that. And then about being able to take that to the next level is to actually test it out to see will it work. And what's the one at the very end, which is evaluation, which is the most important one, where you
yeah,
kind of reflect on your strategy to see does it work. Okay, so strategy in life, I think, is just so important. It's almost like similar to setting goals in life. Okay, so you always, like, in my bedroom here, I have a small whiteboard and I have maybe 3 or 4 weekly goals that I set every week. Okay. One of them is to run 20 kilometers this week. Okay. And I've already ran 15. Okay. So that's just a small goal for me. Next week, I might increase that to 25 kilometers. That's just small goals that kind of I can see every day. So when I can see them in my room, I see them when I get up in the morning, I see them when I'm teaching. Just set small goals for yourself, and this will allow you to have a better strategy in life. Okay, and just be organized. That's all I can really say to you about that. So I'm sure you all have set goals in life, or you've thought about them. For me, I know before I go to sleep, I think about, okay, what am I going to do tomorrow? What's my plan for tomorrow? Okay, and that's how I kind of fall asleep at night, where I kind of plan out a strategy for myself. So
yeah, I
is
totally
that
agree.
answer the question? Or
Yeah,
would you
perfectly.
agree
Yeah.
with that?
Yeah, of course. I'm one of the believers who think that we should always have a plan for the future. We can't just
Yeah.
walk around and think that everything will go as it is and go for the best. So yeah, I totally agree.
Okay.
So now we're going to go to a smaller scale. Since it is the Innovation Week in the UAE, how do you see how innovation is in the UAE and how important it is for the nation here?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, so this subject is only 4 years old. Okay, so before this subject, there was nothing really like this in any of the in the schools in the UAE. Okay, there was nothing. Everything was all about maths, physics, chemistry, Arabic, those core subjects. Okay, there was nothing to do with design. Okay, everything was just you have to learn maths, you have to learn this. Okay, and then what you found was when those students were going to university, they were doing all these like all them subjects. There was nothing. No one was becoming engineers or anything kind of unique. No one had like a business idea. Everyone was just either doing maths, science subjects in university. Okay. And when you have a whole population of a country doing that, then you're reduced skills in other areas. Okay. So an example of that was the Burj Khalifa, the biggest building in the world, the most famous building in the world. And I don't think there was one single Emirati person involved in the manufacture of the design or anything to do with that. Okay, so imagine like having the most popular building in the world in your country, but no local person was involved in making this. Okay, so that's why the UE have introduced this new subject, creative design innovation, to give students an opportunity to try something new. Okay, so like everyone can't be like mathematicians, physicists. Like you have to kind of focus away, and some other students prefer the practical subjects. Like I think most of the students in this group chat, you all kind of prefer practical subjects. Like some of you like working with Arduino, some of you like working with Fusion. It's almost taking a break from your English and your Arabic I know for me in school, when I was doing these subjects, I used to just love all the hands-on approach. Now it's a pity we're not in the labs and actually getting to make stuff, but they're just a more unique way to go about it. So if you were to look at innovation in the UAE where it is today, obviously it's one of the world leaders. Like if you just think about even the education system or the healthcare system, the hospitals are state of the art. Like when you go to hospital with a problem, you're only in there a couple of minutes, a nurse and doctor will deal with you straight away. You go to my country in Ireland, you could be in there 2 or 3 hours waiting. There's just not enough doctors or nurses to go around. And that's every country except the UAE. So like at the moment, the UAE is, it's getting up there in the world's number one in just about everything. Okay, so like you're quite lucky you live in a country like this where everything is only a stone's throw away. You've got everything you need in the country. I think is it what's the vision? Is it the 2021 vision? The UAE is trying to achieve number one in everything. And I think in the next 10 years they will achieve that. Like if you just think across the board, like especially education, you go to the MOE headquarters in Khalifa City. So sometimes I'd have training there, and the building is something else. Like it's just also new, really nice cafes, but just everything is just laid out perfectly, and there's loads of people working in every area. You take it, your online system, you have LMS set up. No other country has a system like this. Most countries struggle. They have nothing. All they have is Zoom. They create a Zoom meeting. Teachers have no database. Like the UAE, we have everything planned for us. So they've organized that way. So just take stress off the teachers. And it's just so well put together. Like they always have the latest technologies with everything. I think I seen in Dubai, they announced this weekend where they've actually got rid of passports and they're doing like facial recognition as opposed to carrying your passport, which is just, I think is just unbelievable, really. Where you can just walk through a system, not have it to show your passport, rely on a stamp. Everything is just all online. But that just comes from innovation, okay? So it's an idea that's already there, but you're just making it better.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's perfect.
And
So
that's what the UAE is doing, like with everything. They're just making things better. So what other countries have, they're just going that step further. Okay, and you can see the police, the resources the police have, like the systems they have, the facial recognition, like it's just overwhelming, really.
yeah, exactly. About the thing you said, where in a student's perspective, the subject itself, innovation, it really does give a feel of what practical work is, and the whole thing of integrating the community and the country and base it all on innovation is something incredible. Yeah, I totally agree with your point.
Yeah.
So
yeah, even like just one more thing there, like
sure.
You have like students. Some students are very practical minded. Like some students, like I know some students really don't like maths or really don't like writing, but love practical subjects. So some of them like, love programming, love designing, fusion, love sketching, but just don't like other subjects. So it's like an opportunity for them to be, they can show their skills in a different way as opposed to doing those core subjects. So it really is a nice subject like that.
Would you say it paves the roads for young innovators at that age?
Oh, absolutely, yes. Like even now, what we've just organized today is there's a competition coming up, an innovation competition. Now it was a bit of a struggle there to get everything organized, but I think we're ready to go. Like even taking part in competitions like that where you work as a team. So let's say there's a team of 5, being able to work as a team and communicate with each other. Everyone would take a piece of work each, and then you showcase your work, you present it. Like the skills you develop in that alone is just something that you can't teach in a classroom, really. Okay, so like being able to work as a team and so on. Okay, so they're just some skills like even for presentation skills like are taken for granted. Like if you're a student and you're able to stand up in front of your class and speak, like that alone is something that you cannot learn from a textbook. You just kind of learn by doing it. Okay, And if you're able to talk and sell an idea to someone, that's all part of innovation as well. Okay, so if you have an idea, you need to believe in it and be able to speak about it. Okay, so you need to have good kind of people skills to kind of sell your idea as well. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So now that we've discussed a lot and explained what creative design innovation is, do you think that the Ministry of Education here in the UAE should focus more on promoting the subject and broadening it?
I personally think it should, because what's happening here is some students, because it's only a B subject, it's not a core subject, so some students are not putting in as much work as they're able to. So some students I know who are very good, their sketching is excellent, but they just choose not to do it because they think, oh, it's only a B subject, it's not worth as much as health science or maths. But I think it should be kind of like an elective, kind of like where you choose physics or chemistry. Okay, you should be given a choice where students should get to choose this subject as an A subject. Do you know what I mean? So let's say, for example, if you had business, creative design, health science, maybe pick 2 out of the 3 to take on for your A level. Okay, so that way students get to choose what they want. Okay, so like I know from my own experience, we got to choose engineering, technology, and technical graphics, and I got to choose them, and then I kind of dropped chemistry and biology. Okay, so I kind of didn't want to go near physics, or sorry, I had to do physics, but I didn't want to go near chemistry or biology because those are subjects I did not like. So I kind of focused on engineering and technology, but that's because I had a choice to take this on for my A level, you could say. So I think if you were given that choice, where if you were given it maybe a range of more subjects where you could choose the ones you want. So let's say you could try biology, chemistry, but you could drop one of them if you wanted and then take on something else. Would you prefer that? Or like, you guys are in school, what do you think?
Yeah, like for a student's perspective, I really enjoyed creative design and innovation. I really think that it helped me get a feel of what practical work is, especially when you're creating something from scratch. So I think if we were to have an opinion in that, I would definitely make it an A-level subject.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. But like, I think it will. I think we're getting there. Like health science was only made A subject there last year, I think. So I think they should, but they just need to give students a choice. Like obviously you have some students who, obviously some students just don't really enjoy the subject. You obviously have students who like it and don't like it. But I think if they're given a choice with something else, so let's say, for example, health science, if you had like an example to choose one. So like some students could choose health science and some students could choose creative design, because then if you give students a choice, the students who are in the class in creative design want to be there. Do you understand? So the other ones in who want to choose health science, they want to be there. Okay, they don't be there because they have to do it. So I'm stuck with some students here who are there because they have to do creative design. They have no interest, but they have to do it. I think if they were given a choice of a list of subjects and they get to choose, and then they kind of feel lucky to be in that class, then that's what my personal opinion on it.
Yeah. So you kind of ended like in a note where it's all about advice. What would be your advice for all the students in the field of creativity and innovation in general? What would you give them as a piece of advice?
Like, to be innovative, like it will, like obviously to be at the top of your game in innovation, you can be any age. Okay, so like you'll obviously develop more skills when you go to university and whatever degree you do. But at some stage in life, you will think of ideas that like will change your life. Let's say, for example, you have some basic idea you have, but like you'll take that idea and you'll make it better. You take an existing idea that's out there, you'll make it better. But the important thing is you need to have the confidence to take that on. Okay, don't be afraid to like, okay, I won't do that because I'm not too sure. Like over the years, you'll learn that there's people out there you can speak to. Okay, if you're not sure, if you have an idea in an area, as I said, like if you're designing an application and you're unsure of how to go about it, there's loads of people you can go out there to speak to design it for you. Okay, but it's still your idea, but you're just getting someone to do the designing for you almost. But like, you just have to be confident and don't be afraid of your idea. Okay, if it doesn't work, no problem. But as long as you try it, I think you'd regret it more if you did not try something. But like, as I said, the way technology is going these days, guys, it's crazy. Like, you look at Tesla there, who have the vehicles that are going to drive by themselves. Like, in the next 10 years, I think all cars nearly throughout the world will stop making fuel cars. They're all going to be electric, and there's going to be more and more Tesla cars. So like, it's exciting to see, but it's you guys, you're the next generation coming up. But those innovative ideas, we need people like you to kind of make them better again. Okay, there'll be cars that can drive themselves, but they'll still need to be improved. There'll still be flaws that need to be improved. Like, you look at, I'd see in America there, I don't know if you've seen in the news, I think Boeing, is it 777, their airplane caught fire, one of their engines, and basically it was a mistake in one of the manufacturing. And what Boeing had to do, they just had to stop all, or they grounded all Boeing 777s, and there's thousands of them out there. And like, that's just a mistake that came within the company where a flaw happened. But like, it takes innovation to get over that again and to redesign it and to make it better again. Okay, so it's like the PlayStation 5. The PlayStation 5 is out, but a new team of designers are going to come in and make it better again. Okay, it's like a PlayStation game, like you have Modern Warfare. The next one that comes out is better again. Okay, it's a team that sit down, they become innovative, they make it better again. Okay, how do they make it better? They kind of listen to customers and what they want. Okay, so they look for customers' feedback. If you're playing Modern Warfare and you're unhappy with a game, or there's something you don't like about it, customers will give feedback to them and they'd make it better. Okay, they're just being innovative, making it more creative, and so on. Okay, there's just a load of different ways. The main thing is, don't be afraid to pursue something. Have the confidence to back yourself.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That these were very wise words for someone who is going to go into innovation. I believe that everyone has the ability in their hands to do something innovative, but it only needs initiative, and we need to be brave enough and should take up this opportunity to do something, because this generation especially, I believe that they were born in an age where innovation is such a big thing, and it just needs a bit of push for them to go into it.
Absolutely, yeah. Like, especially with the way the world is now, like, everything is about clean and efficient energy. That's the main goal.
Yeah.
And you'll see now, over the next 10 years, the UAE will be one of the first countries to do it. But like, you have to think that the UAE will probably do it in the next 10 years. But you have to think of countries like Africa, third world countries, where they don't have the resources available. Okay, so you kind of have to help them out as well. They're going to need innovation to kind of cope with them. Okay, other countries have different climates. So you just requires more innovation to solve different things. It's kind of like all problem solving, but being innovative is your way of getting over it. So yeah, any other questions, or is that okay for you?
No, that pretty much sums it up. I think you gave us a lot of info that was very helpful, especially in this time where we're in Innovation Week, and I think you answered a lot of questions for the listeners who will probably listen to it.
So I just hope that, like, I hope some students in your class will pursue a career in something like this. Like, just don't be afraid. If the subject you like, you need to pursue a career in something like this. Don't pursue, if you don't like a subject, don't do a career in it. Okay, you have to enjoy what you're doing every day. Otherwise, you will not progress in it. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, you won't progress in it. That's my advice to you guys.
Yeah, I think we should all follow that advice. So thank you so much, Mr. Declan, for coming onto our first episode.
No problem.
It has been a pleasure.
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah. Okay, guys. Thank you very much.
Okay, everyone. So that brings us to our end of the podcast. I hope that everyone got their questions answered and learned something new today. And like Mr. Declan said, we should all take the initiative towards a better day and go with our innovation and creativity for a brighter future. Thank you, everyone.